Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating, ancient wisdom, but, well, through a very specific, powerful lens.
That's right. We're looking at the Bhagavad Gita.
Exactly, the Gita. But specifically, verses chosen by the sage Ramana Maharshi.
A very focused selection.
And our mission really is to uncover the core wisdom here. Ramana Maharshi didn't just pick these at random, did he?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It was carefully curated, designed to guide anyone interested in self-inquiry.
To help us understand, the seeker, what's being sought, and crucially, how to seek it.
The whole process laid out.
And we're drawing all this from Essence of the Bhagavad Gita, translated by Miles Wright and edited by Gabriel Ebert, a fantastic resource.
Really is.
And it all kicks off with a scene that feels very, well, human. Sanjaya watching Arjuna on the battlefield, completely overwhelmed, despondent, even tearful.
That moment of crisis, confusion, sorrow, it's relatable.
Absolutely, and that's our starting point for this deep dive. So the big question for you listening is, what timeless truths can we pull from these ancient teachings to navigate our own lives, our own complexities, and maybe find some inner peace?
A very relevant question.
So yeah, let's dig in. Where does Sri Bhagavan even begin with Arjuna in this state?
Well, what's striking is he doesn't immediately give, say, battle advice. Instead, he goes for this radical shift in how Arjuna sees things.
Not how to fight, but how to see. Interesting.
Exactly. He introduces this fundamental distinction between the body and the self.
Okay.
He says this body is called Kshetra, the field. Simple enough.
Yeah.
And then one who knows this is the Kshetrajna, the knower of the field.
The field and the knower. Got it.
But here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Sri Bhagavan says, further, know me as the knower of the field and all the fields. And this knowledge, knowing the field and the knower, that's what he calls true knowledge.
Wow. So the real you isn't the field, the body, the experiences.
It's the knower, the
Yeah.
consciousness observing it all. It's absolutely foundational to everything else that follows.
That's huge. Me as the knower.
Yeah.
For someone maybe new to this, how can we really grasp what this self, this knower actually is? It seems different from just, my personality or my ego.
It is different.
No.
And subtle, yes, but crucial. The text says the self dwells in the heart of all beings.
In the heart. Okay.
And it's not just in everything. It is everything, fundamentally. It's
Yeah.
the beginning, the middle, and indeed the end of all beings. It's the underlying reality, not some far-off thing, but right here.
Which brings us back to Arjuna's grief, right? The fear of death, loss. It's one thing to say don't grieve, but how does knowing this self actually help with that raw feeling of sorrow? Does it just switch it off?
It doesn't necessarily switch off the human emotion, I think, but it transforms our relationship to it deeply. Because the self's nature is immutable, unchanging. Sri Bhagavan makes it crystal clear. He is neither born nor does he die, and nor having been will he cease to be again. It's unborn, eternal, everlasting. He is not slain when the body is slain.
So the core of you can actually be harmed or lost.
Exactly. If your deepest identity is beyond birth and death, then ultimate loss is, in a sense, impossible. It's an illusion based on identifying with the temporary. Realizing this starts to free you from that deep fear of, well, annihilation.
It shifts your focus.
Completely, from the temporary body to the eternal self. And the text uses these really vivid descriptions to drive it home.
Like what?
This self is uncuttable. This self is unburnable. This self is unwettable. This self is undryable. Just listing all the ways it cannot be affected like the physical world.
Unbreakable, basically.
Yes, he is eternal, omnipresent, stable, immovable, and everlasting. And analogies too, like the ether space, it's everywhere, but not tainted by what happens within it because it's intangible.
Ah, okay. So the self is like that space, permeating the body but untouched by the body's experiences.
Precisely. Although seated in the body, remains untainted. It's also beyond ordinary light, illuminated by neither sun nor moon nor fire.
Wow. And there's that other key line, too, isn't there? About the real and the unreal.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. The unreal is never regarded as real. The real is never regarded as unreal. This truth, it says, has been realized by the seers of truth.
What does that mean for us, practically speaking?
It means we're constantly mixing them up. We treat temporary things, feelings, situations, even the body, as if they're the ultimate reality, the permanent truth. And we treat the truly real, the self, as if it's somehow unreal or distant. Liberation comes from seeing clearly.
Seeing things as they actually are. So if we manage to really grasp this, that the body is the field, the self is the eternal knower, what's the point? Where does this understanding lead? It sounds like more than just, a neat idea.
Oh, much more. It's a total paradigm shift. The destination described is the unmanifest,
The unmanifest.
also called the supreme abode, or the imperishable, a home. This is described as the goal supreme. And the crucial part is, having attained it, they never return.
Never return, meaning?
Meaning final, complete liberation from the cycle of birth and death, of suffering tied to the temporary, a state of profound, unshakable inner freedom.
That sounds incredible, but probably not easy to reach. What kind of qualities does someone need? What does the text say about who gets there?
It's quite specific. Those who attain this eternal home are free from pride and delusion of mind.
Pride and delusion, okay.
The detrimental effects of attachment conquered, ever abiding in the self, desires at an end, released from the pairs of opposites called pleasure and pain.
Pleasure and pain, the ups and downs.
Exactly. Released from being tossed around by them. The undiluted attain this eternal home.
Yeah.
It's really a picture of deep inner balance and self-realization.
It's not just about avoiding things, though. The text also talks about action and devotion. That seems really interesting. How do those active things fit in?
That's a key point. It's not about passive withdrawal necessarily.
Yeah.
The text contrasts just following impulses, desires.
Which most of us do, probably.
Right. It says if you reject the wisdom of scriptures and just follow desire, you attain neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme path.
Okay, so guidance matters.
Guidance matters. And perception matters. True seeing is defined as perceiving the Supreme Lord abiding alike in all beings, the incorruptible and the corruptible, seeing that divine essence everywhere.
And devotion, where does that come in?
It's central. By devotion alone, without sense of other, can I be known and seen, and indeed be entered into. This devotion seems linked to our fundamental nature, our innate disposition.
Our disposition, like our personality type.
Sort of. It's often framed through the gunas, sattva, purity, clarity, rajas, activity, passion, tamas, inertia, darkness. These qualities shape our nature.
And our nature shapes our faith.
That's the idea. Man is made of faith. As his faith is, so he is. Your core makeup influences what you believe, and those beliefs literally shape your reality.
And that faith leads somewhere.
It leads to knowledge, Nana. The man of faith, occupied with that only, who has senses under control, obtains knowledge. And having that knowledge leads quickly to peace supreme.
So faith isn't blind belief, it's more like focus, trust in the path.
It seems so. And for those consistently engaged, devoted, the text says they are given the yoga of intellect, inquiry.
Yoga of intellect, like using the mind for this.
Using the intellect as a tool for inquiry, yes, to help them come to the divine. This knowledge, it says, acts like the sun, destroying that deep spiritual ignorance, that nescience, and illuminating the supreme within.
Okay, so it's about creating the right inner conditions for understanding to dawn.
Exactly, cultivating the ground.
But if the self is so profound, so real, even higher than our intellect, how do we actually get there? Our minds are so busy, so full of thoughts, it feels like a huge jump.
It does feel like a jump, and the text acknowledges the hierarchy involved.
Hierarchy.
Yes. It says the power of the senses is great. Higher than the senses is the mind. Higher than the mind is the intellect. But even higher than the intellect is he, the self of all.
Okay, so the self is at the very top.
Right at the top. And the instruction that follows is direct, almost startling. Thus, knowing him, the self, to be higher than the intellect, fixing self in the self, slay the elusive enemy, Ahamkara ego. So hard to find.
Slay the ego. Wow, that sounds challenging. The elusive enemy.
It is elusive, isn't it? That sense of I that seems so solid, but is the root of the trouble. It's like trying to grab smoke, as you said. But the text gives us the weapon.
Which is, you mentioned knowledge earlier. What role does knowledge play in slaying the ego? Is it just knowing about it?
It's much more potent than just intellectual knowing.
Yeah.
It's described as the fire of knowledge.
Fire of knowledge.
Just as a blazing fire reduces fuel to ashes, so the fire of knowledge reduces all actions to ashes.
Reduces actions to ashes, meaning it stops you from acting.
Not quite. It means it burns away the binding quality of actions, the attachment to results, the egoic motivation behind them. A sage is one whose undertakings are devoid of the desire for results, whose actions are completely consumed by the fire of knowledge.
So the actions happen, but they don't create karma or bondage because the ego isn't driving them.
Exactly. It's an internal purification. And the text is encouraging here. It says, immersion in the self is assured here and now.
Here and now, not some future life.
Here and now, for those who have strived, have controlled their thoughts, freed themselves from anger and material desire, and realized the self. It's presented as attainable in this life.
That's important. And understanding that hierarchy, senses, mind, intellect, self is key. You mentioned Ramana Maharshi's talks have more on the intellect's role.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Talk 112 is particularly relevant here. Someone asks about the intellect mentioned in the Gita verse.
One we just discussed.
Right?
Yeah.
Asking whose intellect, and the answer comes back, of the self. But then it clarifies. It clarifies that intellect is really a tool of the self. Its function is measuring variety, distinguishing things in the world. It's described as a phenomenon, something that appears and disappears, unlike the eternal self.
So our powerful intellect is just a tool, not the ultimate reality itself.
Precisely. A tool to be used in self-inquiry, to understand teachings, navigate life, but not the destination. Ramana points out, intellect isn't obviously active in deep sleep or in a young child, but the potential, the seed, is always there.
That makes sense.
And crucially, he says that the level of truth is only the level of truth of the individual, meaning your understanding deepens with your own realization. It's not just about collecting information.
Okay, so knowing all this theory, this hierarchy, the nature of the self, how do we actually live it? How does one find that peace day to day with the mind buzzing and life happening?
Well, the path described is gradual, practical. Little by little, one should cease from action.
Cease from action. Stop doing things.
Not necessarily stop activity altogether, but cease from agitated, desire-driven action with intellect held resolutely, using that tool we just talked about. And having made the mind rest in the self alone, one should not direct the thoughts towards anything.
Make the mind rest in the self. That sounds like the core practice.
It is. The practice is constantly, gently withdrawing the mind when it wanders, because it will wander. It's restless and unsteady, and bringing it back, subduing it, making it rest in the self alone. Anyone who's tried meditating knows this challenge.
Definitely. It's a continuous effort.
But the text paints a picture of where this leads. The liberated sage is one with senses, mind, and intellect controlled, having liberation as his sole aim, free from desire, fear, and anger. Such a person is indeed liberated.
And how do they see the world?
They see differently. Such a person sees the self abiding in all beings and all beings in the self. And because of that vision, he looks on all things impartially.
Impartially. That connects to equanimity, doesn't it? What exactly is that state? That sounds almost detached.
It's more than detachment. Talk 319 sheds light on this. It quotes the Gita. Samatvam yoga ukyate. Equanimity is yoga.
Equanimity is yoga.
And it's defined beautifully as unity in diversity.
Unity in diversity.
It means seeing the common factor that underlines self or reality in all different objects and experiences. When you truly see that unity, then equality in the pairs of opposites, Twanwani, naturally follows.
Ah, so it's not that you don't feel pleasure or pain, perhaps, but you see the same underlying reality through both. You're not thrown off balance.
That seems to be the essence. It's an inner stability born from seeing the unity behind the apparent differences. Not indifference, but profound balance.
And the person established in this wisdom.
They're described clearly. He who abandons all objects of desire roams free of longing, and without sense of I and mine, he attains peace. That freedom from I and mine is huge.
It sounds like the ego dissolving.
It does. And such a person is dear to the divine. Why? Because he who neither upsets the world nor is upset by the world, who is freed from joy and anger, fear and anxiety, that person is dear.
Stable within themselves and stable in relation to the world.
Yes. Also, the same in honor and dishonor, the same to friend or foe, relinquishing all personal endeavors. This person is said to have transcended the gunas, those qualities of nature we mentioned. They're no longer pulled around by them.
So for someone like that, content just in the self, what about work? Do they just stop doing everything?
The text says, for such a one who rejoices in the self alone is completely satisfied with the self alone. There is no work to be done. But again, this doesn't mean inactivity. It means no compulsive work driven by desire or lack.
Ah, no need to acquire anything through action.
Exactly. Their fulfillment is internal. They don't depend on external things or outcomes. They are satisfied with whatever grace may bring, free from the pairs of opposites, free from envy, steady in both success and failure. So even when they act, although acting, he is never bound.
Acting without attachment.
That's the heart of it. And the final ultimate instruction points towards surrender.
Surrender.
The Lord dwells in the heart of all beings, it says, and by his uncanny power, he moves them around as if they are mounted on a carousel-like universe, acknowledging that higher power.
So the advice is,
Go to him alone for refuge with all your being, complete surrender. By his grace alone shall you obtain that peace supreme, the eternal abode.
Wow, what a journey we've just mapped out. From Arjuna's total despair, that raw human confusion,
Right back at the start.
all the way to this profound understanding of the self, the knower, distinct from the field, and finding peace through equanimity, knowledge, and finally, surrender or refuge. It really hammers home that idea of shifting focus from the temporary to the eternal within.
It really does. And it's crucial to remember these aren't just, lofty philosophical ideas to debate. Ramana Maharshi selected these verses because they offer practical insights
Practical. How?
for personal transformation, for genuinely finding deep, lasting peace, even when life throws its inevitable challenges at you. It's a framework for understanding yourself and your relationship to everything.
So a final thought perhaps for everyone listening. Consider how recognizing that knower of the field within you, that quiet, unchanging awareness might fundamentally shift your perspective. How might it change what you see as truly important and how you, well, engage with the ever-changing field of your own life day to day?
What new questions does this raise for you about your own inherent tendencies, your disposition, and your own unique path towards inner peace?
Something to reflect on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.